right now we're going live.
Well, okay.
And we are live Sunday night with those guys. And Sunday night with those guys is sponsored by those guys.
What's up, everyone? What's up? What's up? What's up? How are you? Paul, we just heard how your weekend is turning out.
How about you guys? What's going on with you?
I went flying yesterday. Justin and I were invited to go flying FPV with some guys here. And a golden rule when flying FPV, if someone's in the air, you do not plug in. And before you plug in, you ask what channel that person is on to make sure you're not on the same channel. And we went to go fly with a guy here in New York named Carl and two of his snooty buddies. I say snooty because that's how they were. And Justin was flying. I had not got out yet. And the guy said, I'm on channel so-and-so. So Justin says, okay, cool. I'm on channel R7. The guy plugged in. He plugged in while Justin was way at the other end of the park. When I say at the other end of the park, you know where we were, Herman? Under the trees? Past the third baseball field back there.
Okay.
Where the park ends. And he plugged in. Hey, AZ drone dude. He plugged in and unfortunately, Justin's sight went out. And it took him, I'd say in all, maybe about 45, 50 minutes to look. And on top of it, Tom's waiting. And on top of it, when somebody plugs in on you, and immediately they're supposed to unplug, and that way maybe you'll recover your video back. This dude plugged in and kept flying and burnt the whole pack. And Justin was like, "Yo, my shit went down because you plugged in."
Uh-huh.
And
what did he say?
He just kept flying. He kept flying. So what's up, Tom? So I was kind of miffed at that. And then on top of it, his own boys that were with him were like, well, yo, if you plugged in on him and he went down, you should come back and land and help him look for his shit, being that you caused this shit to fall out the sky.
Right.
So, but he burnt the whole battery. He didn't say nothing. He just kept flying. So I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'll go help Justin look for his drone. After about 25, 30 minutes, I was like, yo, I don't know what to tell you. Because there's a highway right next to Alley Pond.
Right.
And when he was flying, I don't know if he was practicing power loops. So when his video went out, if he was at full throttle before he realized anything, he might have shot over the highway. He might have shot deeper into the park, into the trees. But to make a long story short, after about a half hour, I gave up and came back because I was out in the sun. And then Justin came back and he's like, you know what? I'm going to look one more time. And then by then, Carl had went out to go look with him. And after about 15 minutes, they found it. But in total, it was a 50-minute search in some 3-foot high grass.
Mm-hmm.
So it not only did it get a soft landing, but nothing broke or anything like that. But
okay.
I doubt very much I go flying with them dudes again.
So he got lucky on that one.
Yeah, big brand new Hero 8, a drone. Yeah. What's good, Tom?
How you guys doing today?
I'm all right. I'm all right. It's
good.
The weekend's over.
Yeah. Another one in the books.
Yeah, the year. I was just telling Herman before the live stream that the year just went by so damn fast.
I know.
I feel it's true what they say. The older you get, the faster you travel in time.
Well,
but that's the problem, right? As a youngster, you can't wait to get older. And at this point in time, I'm just trying to stay as young as I can. It's tough.
That whole thing with this year is that, we sat down for a quarter of it, in our homes. And then it still hasn't gone away and it's still here. And, things are slowly going back. And by the time things slowly going back, things that we missed while we were sitting down are coming back too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we still have a presidential election
Right.
We
Yeah.
have a meteor headed to the Earth, and let's see what else we can shoehorn into 2020. We might as well get all of this crap out of the way now, right?
Right.
This is true.
You know,
If you're
because
going to write off the year, we might as well get as many natural disasters. You got 2 hurricanes meeting up on the Gulf Coast on
And
Tuesday.
that's what happened with Sandy, if you remember. Sandy met up with a
Yeah.
winter storm, if you remember.
with tropical storm. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Actually, Sandy engulfed the tropical storm.
Yeah. Kind of ate it
Okay.
and burped
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Well, and then if you see the trees, and Paul, this is a real weird phenomenon that's happening, and it happened with Sandy too. Half the trees have died.
yes.
Not meaning half the population. I mean, of a physical tree, half of it has died.
I noticed that with
because
this last storm too.
like Sandy, it brought in so much salt water, okay, from the direction it traveled,
Yeah.
they got salt burns.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And-
half the side of the tree facing south got burned by the salt.
Well,
and
you
the
know
half
what?
that's facing north is still green. But luckily, the trees will recover.
I'm glad
Okay.
you explain the science behind it, because I was wondering, and I fly FPV, and you fly in and around trees. I'm like, why are the trees on this side dead? And
Yeah,
it
brown.
looks like
Yeah,
some kind
and
of
the
right.
others
They're
are-
brown,
yeah,
or
green.
dark brown, and the other side is perfectly green. I'm like,
Yeah.
the hurricane did that kind of damage, but now that you're saying it's with the salt air,
It's a
the
salt burn.
water, the
Salt
salt
burn.
water that's pulled up out of
In
the
fact, people who have metal patio furniture,
Mhm.
within less than a week, it's rusted up on them
Wow.
because of the amount of salt that was dumped on. And that can happen about 20 miles inland. Well, 20 miles inland is all of Long Island when you think about it.
Yeah.
Right. So, mainly the Jersey Shore and the 5 boroughs and Long Island and a portion of Connecticut got hit with this. But anybody inland that got a lot of rain, those trees are basically, that salt is washed off already.
Right. Okay. See, you learn something new every day.
Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
not know or have a clue, but I did notice that some trees look like somebody held a laser to them and fried
Right.
half of them, and they're perfectly down the middle too.
If you
Yeah,
actually
anything
think, if
facing
you think
south.
about it, back in the days when they used to salt all the roads,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we never
Yeah.
had a lot of growth in the ditches because they were burned out.
Right.
Yeah.
They were burnt. Exactly, Paul. Exactly. Yeah. So I think we still have ahead of us killer tarantulas,
The killer
wasps.
bees, the killer bees,
Okay, the killer bees,
wasps.
it's like, so we figure we're good for another few disasters. We have a few more months to go. So,
This is true before the year is out. Well, they did show a picture of the first killer wasp, killer hornet, whatever you want to call it.
that's for
And the
next.
guy was a normal man that was holding it. And the
Yeah.
thing was like this big in his freaking head.
yeah. Yeah.
And
for
I'm
that,
like,
right?
huh?
That's for next season.
I
That'll be
Well,
next year
if
because we
them
get ready
things
to
are
go
that
back
big,
into winter.
if them things are that big, they could probably survive the winter.
Nah,
The lightning storms that the LA area has been getting
There were
because of the dry heat.
15,000 something, 11,000, 15,000, some
Strikes,
weird
ground
numbers.
strikes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which created
Ground
even
strikes.
more
And that's why you
fires.
have the forest fires. Yep.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I
So-
thought that was because they didn't sweep the forest floor.
Yeah, the good thing that comes out of a forest fire is a lot of new growth, but
Right.
that's a 20-year proposition. Okay.
Well, I did see on some commercial here in New York that some company, it must not be too important because I can't remember the name, but they're supposed to be planting 115,000 new trees, and
Yeah.
where a lot of stuff burnt out. And I'm like, well, you're
Mhm.
growing trees to replace trees.
Mhm.
How did they not get burnt? But apparently they're bringing them in from somewhere
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But the ashenol is a great nutrient for the soil. So actually life springs up pretty quick in areas post forest fire. So
Oh,
that's a good thing. That's Mother Nature healing herself. Okay, not
yeah,
us.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
we screw it up no matter what we do. Mother Nature gets
Look,
it right.
anywhere there's
Okay.
man, anywhere there's man, something's effed up.
Yeah.
Plain and
Yeah.
simple.
Hey,
He's in
Matt, you
space.
sure you were going, Matt?
What
Yeah,
happened?
I thought Matt was going today.
I was
So
looking at his message to Tom, and I was like, I'm not sure if he was really going or not.
yeah, Matt,
Yeah.
I did make it out there today. Not at 8 o'clock start
And you
because
didn't
like I
fly.
oh no, I threw the mini up
Okay.
for a little bit and got a nice pano that I dropped up on
I
Facebook.
saw. And
So,
those
Stevie,
So the mini is just it's always with me because you can charge those batteries and leave them charged.
uh-huh.
Unlike the Mavics and the Phantoms where you got to care and feed those batteries like they're newborns.
yeah,
Okay.
I know.
But
Yeah, you
the
did.
mini batteries you can leave charged. So that sits in my camera bag.
I'm
I brought out the Nikon Z6. I brought out a big 200 to 500 millimeter super zoom.
Hmm.
But I didn't get out there at 8 o'clock because Sunday is senior citizen grocery shopping day.
Okay.
So that happens between 6:30 and 7:30.
dude,
You know,
I totally get it. I totally get
yeah,
it. I'm not a senior citizen, and I'm at the store, like number 3 on the line at the supermarket.
yeah.
And the lady said, "Well, you're not a senior citizen." I said, "But I do have gray." And she
Nah, you
chuckled.
can.
No, but she chuckled though. She thought it was amusing. I said, "I do have
Yeah,
gray." She's like, "All
yeah.
right, you kind of have a point, but you're
I
not a
tell
senior
you,
citizen."
there were, I would say that there were close to 25 people that showed up.
Okay,
Uh,
it's good to hear.
predominant,
Just
predominantly in masks, which was good.
good,
Okay,
good. It's
a
good to
lot of
see.
a lot of fist bumping. So
Okay,
you know,
all right.
uh,
Well,
but in a crowded situation like that, I'm always reluctant to throw up anything of any value, especially if call outs aren't being adhered to. Xavier is good. Xavier throws the placards down on the ground. Stand here if you're flying at this altitude. But
yeah. Did anyone?
everybody's all over the place.
Yeah. Well,
You
that's the
know,
norm now with the group. So, but
yeah,
that's okay as
yeah.
long as there were no mishaps. I guess that's all that matters.
No, actually, there were a couple of FPV flyers flying some bumblebees and doing some extraordinary. You could see the skill level. There were a couple of members there that were following each other very smoothly.
Right.
Okay.
Matt is great at chasing other FPV drones.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
he was
So
there. So, but there
so
were no
they
mishaps though.
no, I didn't know of any
Good.
mishaps. I
Good.
mean, probably I would say close to the end, the New York City Park Police showed up. Okay.
Now,
We had
that's the interesting part I wanted you to speak about.
yeah,
But
well,
you
two
might
of them
have to
walked over.
rehash it later again.
Yeah. Yeah, a couple of them walked over and I saw them pull up outside the park. And I mentioned to the group, hey, heads up. And they thought they were writing some tickets right by the entrance, but that wasn't the case. They walked over. They were very nice. The group gathered around them. And the young man turned around, the young officer turned around and said, you can't fly here. So I overheard him say that, and I walked over to him and I said, are we talking about the New York City administrative law regarding Avigator? And he
Right.
said, well, no, I'm not sure. And I said, so what are we sure of? And he was like, well, the Parks Department says you can't, our own guidelines. And I said, then what you need to do is go back to your supervisors, let them know. They have to update the brand new sign they put on the park and make sure
Mhm.
it's listed there because we're a bunch of responsible flyers. And of course, we look at the sign first. I said, I know on the website it says only a few places, but, it's really helpful if you put it on the sign. And he says, that's a good idea. I'm going to take that back. I said, but, a bunch of adults here, we're just about getting done. So, the guys are going to start to land their birds with. And they were like, oh, no, we appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Right.
And then they were like, they had they had packages of gloves in their hand. That's about 4 packages with them, right? And they were like, "Does anybody need gloves?" And of course, you give out anything for free with 5 boroughs. Okay. In fact, I think they went back to the car and got a few more
It's like
packages.
giving out cheese or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And X was giving away some Mavic 2 Air accessories like landing gear and stuff like that.
Okay. All right.
So it was a good group, a good orderly group, I would say.
Okay.
There were a bunch of people that just walked by and looked and commented, and they were very nice, and it was really no problem. Beautiful little park there.
It
Gorgeous
is a
little
great area.
softball
I was
field.
just
Yeah.
wondering if by chance did any FPV flyers try to fly that big tower over there?
No, well, no, really. I think there was a consensus that that tower is already being partially occupied residentially,
I know, but
and
I
it
had
was the responsible thing of not flying there. But you know what? There was really a big distraction there, Lawrence. It was the construction site next door
oh, so
on the other
everybody was
side.
ooh and eyeing over the big
Yeah,
crane there
so
because that
yeah,
crane is
and
pretty tall.
yeah, and while construction was at a peak yesterday, when I did a stop by with the wife yesterday, and we walked the park over there
Hmm.
to take a look at it, and construction was underway heavy. But today, nobody was there.
Good.
Yeah,
So
Sunday.
it was a day off. So, the gang got to fly around a bit. I saw somebody I hadn't seen before there had his daughter and was letting his daughter run the controls a little bit. And,
Okay.
so all in all, I think it was a good morning. Very good morning.
Good. That's good to hear because
Good day.
what happened, Herman?
No, I said they had a good day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good
Yeah, it was
because
a
you
good day.
let it be told around the world. Oh, you're flying a drone in New York City? You're crazy. You can't fly in New York, blah, blah, blah. And it's partly true. It is
I,
partly
s-
true.
I certified my location with Air Map.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Air Map
Or
actually
you
had it
pull up
listed as
before you
300
fly,
feet.
or before
Yeah.
Air Map, before you fly, are both the same
Yeah.
company now as
Yeah.
one. Now.
Yeah.
So and
I
it's
use Air Map because of the commercial side of it. I'm
yeah,
already registered with it. So I went
right.
right in. I couldn't land.
And you can connect
Okay.
you can connect
But
straight to your bird and everything.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I did that's all part of my pre-flight. I check the sectionals. I check Air Map.
And
I
like
check
you
my
said
bird.
yesterday, you actually walked the spot. A lot of
I
people,
walked the
when they
spot
go to
yesterday.
meetups, they
Yeah.
don't know that if it's safe to fly there or not. The best thing you can do is like Tom did. If you're going to the meetup, take some time during the week to go to the place and
Yeah.
look for obstructions. There may be cables. I was flying FPV today, and I didn't
Yeah.
realize this, but because kite flying is such a big thing now out here along
Yeah.
the beach, as the wind picks up,
Mm-hmm.
they don't want you flying kites over the boardwalk part. So they're putting up
Right.
the ultra
So
thin
that
cable.
thin wire,
Yes.
is at 32 feet. I measured
Listen.
that. Okay.
Yes. Yes, it
So
is.
I
And I want
wanted
to
to
tell you
know.
something.
Yeah.
In places, Herman, you know the hill that we fly from in the grass? That hill going towards the skate park. If you go down towards the skate park, there are 3 wires, one pointing from 7 o'clock to 11 o'clock. Then there's another wire pointing opposite direction.
Yeah.
And it's really,
Yeah.
I missed those 3 cables. Now, I did not see this in FPV.
Yeah, you gotta do your due diligence. I mean,
Yes.
Stevie from the Bronx was there, Capture Life Connection. Always great seeing Stevie.
He said he was
Stevie,
tracking helicopters.
He was calling out
See?
altitudes on helicopters,
See?
checking that out. Besides, Stevie's around with the camera, asking questions, doing his little interviews there. So always great seeing Stevie there. And
Yeah, he said it was good to see you there as well. And
yeah, I mean, like he said, the park officers gave out N95 masks to people. Okay.
they had a van out here on the beach, a white van, and I know all of the unmarked cars and stuff. And this unmarked van actually got a permit. which a white panel van, cargo panel van, got a permit to start at Beach 9th Street and go to length of the peninsula giving out masks.
Oh, very nice.
And
Very
they
nice.
actually got a permit to do this because people were like, they're
Yeah.
driving on the foot. And the police officer said, they have a permit. We know they're going to be on here and they're giving out masks. What are you complaining about?
Yeah.
Well, that's what they
No,
have
but,
school safety doing it too in the parks.
Give me a
Yeah,
second.
the
I'll be right
park-
there.
The park police, the park officers were very respectful. It was nice to see because, you know, sometimes the park officers can be a bit on the frustrated side. Sometimes they're known as wannabes, and they're ready to give out tickets real quick. But no, these two young officers, actually, a male and a female officer, they were very respectful of everybody, engaged us in a conversation. It was a nice back and forth. Everybody, you know, I basically said, we're all smiling. You just can't see it. We're wearing masks. Okay. But
I've run into a few that were pretty good.
yeah. I mean, it's all, first thing is the approach, right? If they
Right,
approach you
exactly.
with respect and you come back with them with respect, it's a
Everything
conversation. Then.
everything
The
is
only
respect.
time I've really run into some
Yeah.
really crazy ones is when I was with Lawrence. You know, that was the only time that
Gee, thanks.
the conversation with
He does
Park-
have a valid point. We've
Went
run
left.
into quite a few over the years.
you know, there was one time where what was it? The one officer with the she was sergeant, right? White shirt.
Yes.
She said that
Yeah.
that,
You got to hear this, Tom.
that you're not allowed to fly drones in New York City parks. I was like, since when? She goes, since they came out. I was like,
Yes.
really?
Yes, Tom.
So
Yes.
where
Herman and I looked at each other.
She says, you can go fly in the park over there. And she pointed to the state park.
Yes.
I
Which
was
is
like,
right
that's
next
kinda
door.
Weird.
Next
but
door.
I'm like, okay. And then the other time we were flying and another white shirt and one of his deputies walked up on Lawrence while he had the goggles on, started talking to him. I was packing up.
Oh, you're talking about
And-
Dumb and Dumber.
And I approached him. I said, "Oh, he's flying. Talk to me."
Yeah.
So he's like, "You guys can't fly here." I said, "We can't fly here, or we can't take off from here."
Right.
And he goes, "Well, I'm just saying that you can't fly here. I'm just saying I understand that, but I just want to clarify. When you say I can't fly here, meaning that I can't fly from here, or I can't fly here."
Right.
He said, "Well, you can't fly here." I said, "Oh, so I can't take off from here." And here comes
He's thinking in his head, what's the difference, right?
and here comes Lawrence. And the guy now is like,
He interrupted my flight, man.
The guys, and the guy starts now. He starts stuttering. Lawrence got him all nervous and everything, and the conversation ended with, "Well, we fly too. How can I get one of those?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
By
Well,
the end of the conversation,
yeah.
exactly.
Well, last
Look, he was scared of
weekend,
Lawrence.
the wife and I, we drove up. My daughter's got a seasonal campground up in Pearling, New York,
Okay.
the Catskills, right?
Yeah, no, that's it.
Yeah.
So we turned around and I always map a few other excursions out, So we hit 5 State Lookout, and then we hit this mountaintop arboretum.
Mm-hmm.
So we go to mountaintop arboretum, and I park right next to the sign in the parking lot that says what you can and cannot do. And of course, it doesn't say anything about a drone. And I put my hand out the window, and the Mini takes off, and I do a little run around, right? And I get out of the car to have it land, and this gentleman comes up to me and says, "Sir, you can't fly a drone here." And I said, "Just let me land, no problem," right? I landed in my hand, and I say to him, "Oh, I'm an FAA Part 107 pilot. I checked the sectional maps. It's all G airspace. I looked at your sign. Is this public or private land?" And he says, "Well, it's public benefit." I said, "Oh, okay. I thought so. But I looked at the sign." And he says, And he walks over the sign. He says, "There's nothing there." He goes, "But it's on the website." And I said, "Oh, you know what? The one place I didn't check was your website because we just happened upon this place."
Right.
He says, "Oh, yeah, I understand." I said, "I'm just trying to get as much green as I can. It's beautiful up here, and this whole area is gorgeous." I said, "We were just at New York Botanical Garden a week ago." And he said to me, "Oh, that's where I did my graduate work." I said, "Oh, yeah, that's great." And I saw they had a donation box there. So I rolled up a $5 bill and I shoved it in the slot. And he said to me, "Do you have a card?" I said, "Yeah, sure I do."
Right.
He goes, would you mind like sending me, some shots?" I said, "Of course." I said, "The only thing I'd ask is you give me credit if you use them."
Yeah.
And he says, "Well, if we use them in a brochure, we have to pay you, right?" I said, "Yeah, that would be nice too." And, we had a nice conversation. I left there, we both had smiles on our faces. So
Yeah.
it's all in the approach also. I mean,
It
it's
is.
like
It very
connect,
much. It very much
connect.
is.
That's all.
Mhm.
That's
I
the
will
key.
admit. I will admit, when on the beach, I did kind of come in defense, but I had just taken off, and what's funny was, before I take off, I usually scan the area to look
Yeah.
around, and I saw these two guys standing and talking to someone down the boardwalk. Unbeknownst to me, it was probably a lady that just passed and said, "Are they allowed to do that here?" or something to that effect. Because the people who live in the area or along the boardwalk, they know me. The Parks
Yeah.
Department, Blondie Herman,
Yeah.
the Parks Department official that rides the ATV and can
The
give out.
ATV.
Oh yeah,
That's Anthony Charles's girlfriend, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's Blondie. Don't let him hear you say that, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's Blondie.
Yeah.
I saw her today actually, and it's amazing because she pulls up with her whistle, blow on her whistle, get out the water, get out the damn water, and then they come to the shore and she says, "Now there's no
Too
damn
many
lifeguard
Jaws
here.
movies.
You're not supposed
Yeah.
to be swimming here. I can't tell you not to go in the water, but at least go in waist high," which makes sense because there's a shelf.
Right.
There's a
Yeah,
shelf.
yeah, yeah.
It goes
Yeah.
at
And you
about
got to worry about the rip currents.
25 to 30 feet, and it
Yeah.
just drops off
You got to
because they
worry about the
dredge there.
rips.
They
Yeah.
keep it dredged there for the ships that go through, the fishing
Right.
boats.
Right.
And then she turns around. I go, "Hey, hi, hon, how you doing?" Because I saw her. I started walking towards her.
Yeah.
So she just been screaming at them. She's like, "Hey, hi, hon, how you doing?" Then she's like, "You see my boy?" I'm like, "No, he actually hurt himself." And I was like, "He's just now getting back to men, so you should
Yeah.
start seeing him
Yeah.
by the end of the summer."
Oh,
Yeah. I know
she looks
Eddie
forward to
flew.
seeing Herman, huh?
Oh,
Not me.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
no, this
No,
guy
no, that's
Anthony
Anthony.
Charles, Invincible
Anthony
Storm.
Charles.
I'm
His
Yeah.
me.
YouTube is
Invincible
Invincible
Storm. Great
Storm.
stuff.
Yeah, hey
Eddie
Corey.
told me he flew out at the Rockaways today, and he has the FPV, so he's trying to get up to your skill level, Lawrence.
Who?
Okay, Eddie Nunez. Okay, so he
He flew in
flew.
Rockaway.
He was flying in Far Rockaway a
Okay.
little bit, and then he said to me, I was talking to him on the phone when I was headed over to Greenpoint.
Right.
And he said, somebody came over and said, "Oh, I don't think you can fly here." And he was flying the FPV, and he likes to keep it close right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's not doing any distance with that.
Right.
So he turned around, he landed that. He threw I think the Mavic 2 Pro up because, you can get some distance around and a little more altitude
Yeah.
and nobody even knows you're there.
Right.
So, and look, I got myself a little one that got delivered yesterday. Those all-in-one $100. I got my goggles, my little controller,
Mm-hmm.
and the Shark, the micro mini whoop. I
Okay.
flew it around the house a few times yesterday. I'm just practicing when DJI finally releases their
There's
return to home GPS version.
Stop bragging.
Okay.
Stop bragging.
Okay.
Stop bragging. Because and it's funny you talk about that particular drone because a lot of people don't know that DJI is planning to come out with a Sinwhoop type drone. Now you will be able to fly this drone in acro mode. You will be able to fly it in stabilized mode. Stabilized means no matter how far you tilt it, it will not flip or do anything.
Yeah. Eddie was saying to me, he started flying acro and he likes it so much better. He feels
Yeah.
he's got a lot more control.
Horizon, I'm going to
You
let
know?
you know right now, Tom, as a beginner, when you're ready, go straight acro because Horizon mode will hinder you. It's sort of a
Yeah, that's what Eddie
handicap.
was saying.
Now,
Yeah.
also, this DJI drone will have GPS. Now, any drone, you guys that fly camera drones will know with a
Yeah, that'll
GPS
hinder you
drone,
too.
you let go of the controls and she hovers. Well, I'm
Yeah.
figuring they're going to put in some type of switch or something on the controller so that
You
you can
can let
switch
go.
between acro, stabilize, and GPS mode, which means
Right.
if you get into trouble and you flick stabilized or GPS mode, if you're
GPS.
upside down, sideways, it should level out and just hover.
You can basically go hands off at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 And GPS
Yeah.
usually means return to home too.
Yeah.
So I'm very much looking forward to it. I personally, what's up, Agent K? I personally hope it is a success because DJI is driving the market right now. And if they step
Yeah,
up the FPV
and
game,
Agent K is probably right. It will come with geofencing. Okay.
yeah, of course.
Okay. You
Of
know it will
course.
because look, any big company is going to look to limit their liability, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's one way of doing it. Yeah.
Hey, what's up,
Roger.
Roger? What's up, Roger? How are you?
Don't you crash it.
Well,
'Cause it's
They'll be
not the
selling
same-
DJI
it's not
cab
gonna-
refresh for that too.
it's-
Okay.
oh,
not
of
gonna
course
be
they
the
will.
same as
Yeah.
in your kitchen, little solder here, and no, not gonna be that.
Well, no. You know that's what keeps me from FPV right now. Come on, guys. You FPV flyers spend 80% of your time tinkering and 20% flying. Okay,
Well,
that's what's stopping me.
with that being the same,
Well,
that
maybe in the
being
beginning,
same for
Corey.
somebody flying with the DJI drone, then that means that UPS will have your drone more than you will.
Yeah, right.
Well, maybe a little bit, Tom. Corey Mano helped me out because I can tell you, Tom, up until I started messing with the proper people in the FPV world, a lot of my stuff wasn't flying because I came to the conclusion a lot of people don't know what they're doing,
Oh yeah.
you know. And once I started encountering this, it's someone like Hadley, he knows a lot of work. DL, there's a bunch of guys that come in a live stream that I went to for help, and now I'm flying. I have 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 FPV birds, and
Yeah.
5 of them are working and 1 isn't. I just have
Well,
to change it out on
Lawrence,
frame.
Lawrence, the question I have is, what is it, 8 or 12 that you have to have in rotation in order to keep them in the air because you're always fixing the other?
Well, see, that's why when we go flying, Paul, we usually take about 2 or 3. Like
2 or
today, I
3?
went to
I would think you'd take 6 or 8. You know.
like today I went to the beach. I didn't unpack the bag. That's why it's so heavy. But
Paul,
this is how I
it-
travel. I had 2 birds
it's
with me today.
it's like crack cocaine, Paul. It's like
I
crack
can
cocaine.
see that.
Okay.
You know, you know, I had 2 birds with me, and one of them is
So
my
many
cruiser.
batteries, somebody shoot that bag, it'll blow up.
It probably would with all the lipos in it. Yeah.
Yeah. You spontaneously combust. You got a problem there, Lawrence.
Yeah, I know. I know. If I fall on my backpack too hard, it may explode.
Yeah.
Either explode or take you for the ride of your life.
Yeah, you should be wearing
Hey,
a
Dragon Hank.
hazmat placard. Okay.
Yeah.
With that bag.
Kevlar
But
backpack.
see, DL Fly says later you become a crafting machine, which is true because now that I know how to repair drones, I'm
Right.
actually going to do, well, this one here, this broken one, that's the one of the 6 that's not working. All I have to do is just transfer it to frame, but this was my first build. It was $100 build. And now that I'm familiar with parts and everything, I'm actually going to do my first mid-range bird. When I say mid-range, I should be able to cover 4 miles easy. I'll probably never pass a quarter mile.
Hey, Lawrence, as you descend down that rabbit hole, you just holler out for Herman and he'll throw you a lifeline. Okay.
You know what? Amongst the true FPV guys, I don't see that DJI thing taking off.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. Where we flew yesterday, Justin and I, and the guy plugged in, slip on your backpack and pop, start popping like OJ in the Naked Gun movie. Hell no, hell no. But anyway, yesterday where we flew, the one guy, Carl, you guys know him, Carl V. He's in Five Borough. He was flying with two friends, and his two friends were both straight up DJI. And then another guy came. He was Crossfire DJI. Now you can fly our Crossfire system with the DJI goggles. He was flying that way. That seems to be the less expensive way that I do see people heading in a direction, as opposed to someone like Matt Bell, who's in NYC Five Borough. The setup that he brought was perfectly tuned, and it was the goggles, the controller, and the FPV bird build. So everything was perfectly tuned. Whether he knew how to fly or not, just getting it off the ground, it rose nice and smooth. There was no tuning, no vibrations. Everything was well balanced.
Right.
What does Corey Meno say? Now, now, now that I've at a level where I not having to search and figure things out with the FPV bird, I spend way less time building and more time flying. That's what I'm trying to get at.
That's what it is. It's the experience. You gain the experience over time.
That's exactly what I'm getting at.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I'm looking for the pre-built because look, I'm a photographer. Okay. I'm looking for it not for the thrill or excitement, which of course it comes along the way, but I'm looking for the cinematic value of it, being able to ridge run, being able to dive down into a ravine. I mean, you look at like Ken Dono. Ken Dono is using it for his real estate business
now keep in mind, he's less than 6 months flying FPV.
Into it. Yeah.
All right. And now he's already using Sin Whoops to do his real estate.
Well, if you see the one he did with that mansion and the horse farm.
And
being able to run along with those horses and then come up into the tree line and then dive down where you see the entrance of the front of the house.
And then fly through the door and then go through the door. You know, in one smooth move.
Just make sure you have insurance. Okay.
Well, that was a $1 million shot right there.
Yeah.
Whatever the real estate agent was paying him, I probably would have charged top
Lawrence,
too.
they used to have to do that with jib cranes, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I follow a friend, Trent Palmer, on his website.
I gotta close the door. They're freaking mowing along next door.
And Trent Palmer is fly bush planes out in up northern Nevada, but he does cinematic drone work for the movie industry. And he was one of the early adopters of that. But the cost avoidance you get into now with this kind of stuff with the FPV is amazing. Imagine chasing those car scenes, right?
Yeah.
The action scenes. Now you can do it with
you used to use a
Yeah.
$3,000 Inspire, and now you have a bird that's 5 to 7 inches.
And you used to use $100,000 rigs.
Yes.
On $200,000 vehicles.
Yep.
With a crew that cost you $500,000. Okay.
That's true.
Now you get a good FPV pilot. Okay. Now once Red cameras can shrink itself down to a GoPro size.
Don't you only wish?
Oof.
We're
all helping.
Look at Herman. Herman's breaking out in a sweat just thinking about it.
What did they say? The new rumor is the DJI 3, and then the Pro version will be a Phantom 4 Pro and an Inspire replacement. Okay. So, except that'll probably be a real pocket emptier. I mean, a Mavic 3 Pro that has, Well, we're going to start. I honestly think you're going to look at a base value on the Pro version. I'm going to guess probably $4,000. I'm sorry, no, $39.95. Okay,
Could be higher.
It could be. It very well
when
could be.
I bought my first Inspire 1, just the original Inspire 1, it came with one battery, one controller, and it was $38.95.
Right. I mean, to fully outfit an Inspire, okay, at the time I was looking at it with an X5,
Yep.
Okay. It was basically a $10,000 proposition.
Damn.
Okay. And with the X7, and you can't go one lens. I mean,
No,
come on, I'm a photographer. I
right.
can't buy just a lens.
That's like buying a car with 3 wheels.
Yeah, exactly.
Or 2 wheels. You
Yeah.
you can't. It's impossible.
No.
I'm just curious to know where they're gonna go with this. If they're gonna go with high megapixels on one and lower megapixels on the Pro for it to be a video machine. So
yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, that's.
Well,
I just hope they change the battery.
I'm hoping
technology.
they have the
I agree, Tom.
capabilities. I'm hoping they have the capabilities like they developed in the Inspire, where you can change cameras. Just twist the knuckle on.
Absolutely.
Everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the hope right there. Is that it's an interchangeable gimbal.
Yep.
Okay.
Curtis
If
Dart,
I want to zoom, if I want a fixed lens, a prime. Yeah, definitely.
I'd have to disagree with you, Curtis Dart. It says DJI can't sell drones in India now. Won't be long before you can't buy one here. I doubt it very much because the United States is about money, and if they can bring money in, they're making money.
Well, the bigger problem is, I mean, the commercial industry grew by over 38% between 2018 and 2019, right?
Yeah.
And then if you say, well, there's a couple of companies right now that, according to the government, saying our drone is 100% US. Not down to the subcomponent level. It's not.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because if you open it up, the parts are from China, Taiwan, or the Asian hemisphere.
It's almost impossible.
You just have to have a mechanism.
Silicon Valley isn't even making computer parts no more. All of that's overseas for Silicon Valley. So
everything.
You have to have a way to wrap your data, to encapsulate your data.
Right.
That's the determiner right there. Okay. That's what really makes it a secure environment is basically to lock down your data so it's not shared with anybody else.
Right.
And remember, they said that couldn't be done in the cloud industry, right?
Yeah.
There were big concerns. We can't use the cloud. It's not secure. Now you have, top level AES 256-bit encryption. Yes, there's like in the government we use, it's got to be CONUS, continental US data centers.
Right. Of course.
But Microsoft does it, or Microsoft offers it. There isn't a cloud provider today worth their chips that doesn't offer those secure services now. The
only one that if I were to go cloud and I don't see them offering services because they're that high end corporate, is still Cisco systems. And only because Cisco system, they design all of the switches and routers that all this encryption goes through.
So Cisco is a hardware manufacturer, plus Cisco buys companies. Okay, that's what they do. When they like somebody's technology, they go and they make an offer on them. But no, I mean, Oracle, we have cloud services from Oracle. We have
Oracle
cloud
has always been on point, even before
Microsoft.
Services.
Oh yeah. I mean, PeopleSoft, Exadata, Exalogic, you're talking about high-end stuff. But you have to have deep pockets for that kind of stuff. But even the small ones, the Dropbox, Box.com, very secure services. Okay.
Yeah.
Zoom just got in big trouble again.
Yeah.
And we're on Zoom right now. So Zoom got in big trouble because they they were touting end-to-end encryption, and they weren't really doing it. No, they weren't doing it. They got a black eye. First off, if you use GoToMeeting or Cisco WebEx, right, and those kinds of services, you don't call them that anymore. Like a copier machine, you call that a Xerox when you get a copy made, right? I went and had a Xerox made. Well, now, no matter what service you stream on, you said, hey, I Zoomed with these people. Okay. So they were worried that they were going to lose that that grip
Mhm.
when it got found out that they weren't offering secure services. So they started touting how they were providing the commercial market end-to-end encryption, but they used a very low level of encryption that really is not seen as secure anymore in the industry.
Well,
So they just got outed again on that.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that one.
Yeah,
Well, don't you think it's a case too where that whole industry, that conferencing industry just blew up? I mean, I don't know
absolutely.
any one company that could handle it all because it just went boom.
it was the next level of cell phones.
Yeah, well, you look. Bloomberg News just recently did a pretty good report on how of those that are working from home today, almost 40% of them will work from home for the rest of their careers
Probably.
because corporate
Yeah.
America has
Yeah.
realized, hey, we don't have to pay these
Medical
per square
insurance,
footage.
medical coverage,
Well, the medical
rent.
coverage will still be there, but what you don't need is you don't need to pay for that commercial real estate.
Right, the
Right.
rent
We were
for
talking
space.
a week ago about what it costs per square foot.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
But that also means the big cities are going to take it on the chin bad because the big cities are
Yeah.
population
all that
centers
office space.
because
Yep.
that's where the work is, right? The
Mhm.
work is in the big cities. But we become a back office operation in this country.
Hey
We
Tom,
don't do as much manufacturing.
hey Tom, I'm not familiar with this question. Maybe you are. DL Fly says, what do you think of Red Cat in terms of encryption? I'm not familiar with Red Cat.
Yeah, I have some familiarity with it. It is something that is being looked at very, very closely. Again, the level of encryption, the penetration testing that's done. We've been playing with Red Cat for a while. Basically, it's a product that is known in the industry. They're not a new company really. They've been around for a while, but they're how can I best put it? The competition level out there is pretty significant.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
day and night.
It's pretty significant, and that's the thing. I mean, we're getting courted by every company on the planet right now.
I would
and my
imagine
day
because
job.
of your field of work that you probably have someone coming to you offering stuff all the time.
Yeah. So it's not. Look, we're not talking about. And I'm sorry, I had said Red Cat. It's Red Hat.
It's Red Hat. That's Linux.
Yeah, it's
Red Hat is
but
Linux.
Red Hat. Yeah, but
I'm
it's an
familiar with
encryption.
Linux.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
There's an encryption level in Red Hat is what he's referring to.
Okay.
Okay. And the data is encrypted. It's got to be encrypted both in transit and at rest.
Right.
That's what makes it secure. That's what's called end-to-end encryption or endpoint encryption, as it's known. And that's the key. Okay. Because anywhere along the way, you lose that. And it's really a key system. It's a unified key system. It's a series of handshakes.
Now, Tom, where you said along the way, you lose this encryption, and this is where companies like Cisco, who control the switches and routers that convert the data to different stages along the way.
Well, that's a physical layer.
We're getting real geeky
here.
But
so that's the physical layer, right? That's the physical layer.
I saw that, Herman.
Yeah. We are getting pretty geeky here. We are. So.
Yeah. Because I mean,
we got to pull us back just a little.
The whole conference calling and video thing is not really new because, like I said, I've been installing them in these office spaces and buildings for years with the whole conference room and
being an electrician, you're seeing the stuff go in
different places, and this now is taken on to your home and my home and his home, and everybody now being able.
Well,
to
now
do-
it's at the local level, like you're
Right.
saying, Herman.
and that's
It's at the
why
local
it's-
level.
So this is the reason why Zoom is even being mentioned today in this whole world, because
Well, how do you have your
people are
cocktail
taking-
parties without Zoom today, right? Okay.
well, that's now.
So, yeah, look at right now, right? But look, the Linux and Unix server world is really what he's referencing here.
Yes.
and there's I have Linux and Unix administrators. We're using Unisys,
I
we're
helped the
using
school. I
Oracle.
helped the school convert from Unix to Linux, and that
Yeah.
was no easy task because
No, it's not.
Linux was you had computers that you could press the power button on. Remember when we thought 16 megabytes of that was the whole computer's memory? Okay, that was big back then, and we had tanned on computers because the Board of Ed only used tanned on computers from Radio Shack.
Yeah, we called them trash 80s, TRS 80s,
Yes.
Tandy Radio Shack 80s. We
Yeah.
used them for dispatch. We used them for
Get out of here.
dispatch. Okay?
That's
Back in the
scary to
day.
think of now in
Well,
today's
think
time.
about it. If you're talking about the late 70s, early 80s,
Yes.
what were your choices? I mean, I remember going to IBM in Manhattan and picking up the IBM 8081 desktop computer. Okay, I needed a hand
With a
card.
truck. I was going to say,
Okay.
used
what
to
truck?
sell those things,
And we had a single-sided,
What, Herman?
single-density floppy.
Stop it! I used to sell those Tandy computers.
I'll tell you, they had a good market
Fresh out
share
of
at the
school.
time.
I worked
Yeah,
at
they
Radio
had a good
Shack.
market
I used
share.
to sell those things.
Yeah, and then I
Big
think,
Matt had a Tandy with a tape drive. Yes.
Yeah,
We're going
yeah.
way back.
yeah.
And
Oh,
I'm
well,
talking.
wait. Commodore 64 was my first home computer, right?
Yeah.
And that had the cassette tape deck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
And then
Yep.
the 128
The
was
tape drive.
groundbreaking, right?
Mhm.
And
Because
the
it had it on a
128
chip.
was, yeah.
Yeah, I had
And
the
you know what?
Atari where you had to buy all those parts of the tape.
We
drive.
had DBase was the database application. You had to take the floppy, and I'm talking about on the IBM. You
No,
had to load the operating system
Dude.
on one floppy, wait for it to tell you, take that out, put in the application floppy,
Yes.
and then to save any data, you had to wait until it prompted you, because
To
God
put in the
forbid you
disk,
didn't, you
to put
corrupted
in-
everything,
Yep.
and then
and
put
you'd
it
have
on
to
a data disk.
and you would have to start over if you messed up that
yes.
procedure. It's funny you
Yeah.
mentioned database, DBase, because
DBase.
I had to learn DBase 4 for us.
Right.
This school that
Oh.
transitioned from Unix, this school
Yeah.
that I was in transitioned from Unix to Linux. Then it went from Linux to DBase. So we had to
See,
take all of the school records, and DBase 4 back then.
Hey guys, what was the model number? I remember it, Tandy had the dual disk drives in it right next to the screen, and you used to put the floppies in.
That was the TRS.
I gotta
I think it
Google
was
it. That one.
TRS 120 or something like that. I'm
Yeah,
trying to
'cause that
remember
was
what
like-
it was.
Then you didn't have
That
to
was
swap
groundbreaking.
floppies. Yeah.
Well, that's when IBM came out with the 8083, and it had two single density floppies in it. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
the
you know what?
the 8-inch floppies.
So
No, we're not talking
so
the 5-inch joints. the
oh no
8-inch joints.
the 8-inch ones. Yeah. Well, the trash 80s used the 8-inch ones. Yeah. And we had these tape drives, which were like reel-to-reel tape players. Okay.
Yes.
That's
Yep.
what your CAD,
Yeah.
your computer-aided dispatch information went on, was the big tape drives. And we actually had to deliver them to the backup facility, which was a regular moving company that had a large insurance
I
policy.
feel uncomfortable
Okay.
talking about my floppy, Geeks Vana.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know what? How soft we have it today, right?
Mhm.
They have
I
no
mean-
idea. You know what? When I went into junior high school, they had one computer. It was supposed to be, this was a school for oceanography, but they had a computer science department. And they had a computer, and at the beginning of the class, you were given a stack of cards like this.
Punch cards.
and you were
You're
told,
talking about the punch cards. Yeah.
yes, you were
Yeah.
told as a passing grade, you had to make this square move across the screen from point A to point
Yeah.
B. And
Mhm.
these cards, if you made one wrong punch, you had to sit there, and I'm talking 500 to 1,000 cards. You had to go through
Right.
each one and see, all right, this is punched, that's punched. Oh, I made a mistake on this one.
Yeah.
That's how you
Yeah.
debug stuff.
Well, you look, the phones that we're carrying right now have more computing power than the Apollo that we put men on the moon with.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, that, well, it's said that if the automotive industry moved as quickly as the IT industry,
We'd have flying cars.
we'd be driving at the speed of light, getting 186,000 miles to the gallon.
and
Okay.
and and yeah,
Yeah.
flying cars, yeah, pretty
Well,
much.
flying cars, I mean, come on.
If you
Those of
gave
us that
kids a
grew up with
DOS,
the Jetsons, we should have already been in flying
Big
cars by
Matt,
now.
Big Matt has a valid point, and Big Matt, you you make me laugh with this. It says if you gave kids a DOS prompt right now, they wouldn't know what to do. And
You
I have
know,
a perfect example of that.
yeah.
I had a young kid, I had a young kid go and fix a computer for a woman. Now she called me to fix it after him. Okay, because this young kid, he charged her for walking through the door, he charged her for looking at the computer, and he could not fix her computer. You know why? Because the floppy disk drive didn't work.
Well, you know what's funny? Big Matt, do you know what a kid that can use a command prompt is called? A hacker. Okay.
I take offense to that,
You're not a kid.
but no, yeah, that's true today. In today's time,
Today,
yes. Yes,
look,
yes.
I still go to the command prompt for certain things. Okay. On my Windows OS machine. Okay. When something's not working, I go to the command prompt. But yeah, my grandson doesn't know what to do with that. No clue.
Well, this guy came to me later on and said, the lady told me you fixed her computer. How did you do it? And I said, there's something called the command prompt. Okay. And he was like, well, what is that? And I
Where do you
wrote it
find that?
down. I wrote it down. I wrote down a C colon and slash. I wrote it down for him. I said, now look that up on the internet. And
Yeah.
he came to
Yeah.
me and he was like, that stuff is ancient. I was like, yeah, but it helped me fix a computer that you couldn't. And this kid was just out of college too. So you couldn't tell him nothing, because she called me and she says, well, he's here and he just keeps looking at the computer. You know why? Because he
Yeah.
walked in with a box of CDs, and none of all of them could fix everything in the world. But if a CD drive isn't working, guess what? You need to know command prompt to type in. Just ordered. Oh, see, Dragon Hank. I'm glad to hear that. Just ordered the TBS Crossfire Micro V2 from Pyro Drones. Glad to assist you. Glad I
You
could
know
help
what's
you out.
what's good is, like what's the little ground robot that DJI put out?
Oh,
Uh
that
Robomaster?
Robomaster, something
yeah,
like
what
that.
is it? Yeah,
Yeah,
Robo
Robomaster.
something DS, right?
Robomaster,
Robomister.
yeah.
What's good is that they allowed, you know, they built a programming
Open
language,
source.
the open source programming language, which allows kids to really experiment in that realm. I mean, that's really. Oh, look at this, Big Mac, the Commodore Run Command. Absolutely, I remember that one. Yes. Okay, with the runs and the delimiters. Yeah, and writing batch files. I remember writing batch
It's
files
just, I got a
and
story
cron
for when you're done.
jobs.
I have a story
Okay.
when you're done with that. But
Yeah.
I was actually going to my first computer school, which, by the way, they gave us the graduation because the owner of the computer school left the United States and went to the islands with $6 million of the school's money. But during this time, I learned how to write a batch file. It was me and two other guys in the class. Everybody else was a complete loser. They were there just to get the grant, to say they had a laptop and stuff like that. They were there wasting time, government money, etc. So the three of us, we were top in the class because we hung out and we helped each other, and the rest of the class was failing. And what we had to do was we would take our disk drive, which was a 3.5-inch disk drive back then, and we would do our work at home on the laptop that they gave us, and then we would put the disk in a box in a teacher's desk. So to make a long story short, all of a sudden, everybody in the class started passing. So the three of us decided they're stealing one of our discs and copying it and passing it on and copying it to each
Ah,
other like that. So we got together and we wrote a batch file that once you executed it, which was supposed to start running your homework, it deleted everything. So everybody in the class that had a deleted floppy disk drive, we knew copied our shit.
you were already, you know, that's called ransomware today. Okay. I mean,
I know. Yes. You're right, Paul. We got to get in the drop, bro. Dad, you're right. We were writing ransomware way back then.
yeah, yeah.
But out of the people in the class, really quick, and then we'll do the drop. There were 12 people in the class. Three of us were passing from day one, and six people had deleted disk, and another three just plain failed without trying. So, but we did catch them anyway. Right? Zero copies, zero files copied.
Right, right.
All right, here we go. Sunday nights with those guys is sponsored by those
Those
guys.
guys.
We had to get it in, so we get it out. What's up, Recovery One? I remember my subscription to home computing. Each month it would post you a code to type in a DOS to make some dumb stick figure dance.
Yep, yep, yep. Yep. Because everything built on something else, right? Hello world. Okay, your very first basic command, right? And like I said, I had a 3-digit CompuServe ID number. Okay.
Wow.
And
Wow.
yeah, CompuServe and the old 96 baud modems. I remember having a 96 baud modem, and I thought I was high on life at that point.
Dude, I thought I was high on life with a tape drive compact computer.
Compact. We
Tape
had a
drive
briefcase.
compact.
We had a briefcase compact computer
Oh,
that
get out.
the first that was the idea of a portable. I think it was like 35 or 40 pounds. But the lid would drop down and you had a 4.5-inch, maybe it was a 5-inch screen, green screen. And it had 2 floppy drives, so it was very advanced.
Yep.
And the lid dropped down and was the keyboard.
Oh,
okay?
Get out of here.
Yeah.
But to portable was not. You broke your back carrying this thing from one place to another. Okay.
Oh.
I remember bringing it on a plane. Okay. We brought it on a plane. And they were like, "What is that?" And we're like, "It's a computer." And they were like, "Oh man, you guys must be important. You got a computer." Okay. There was no TSA at that point. Okay. And they didn't even ask us to gate check it. They thought it would cause too much liability for them if they put it in the cargo hold.
And if they stopped you or if it got damaged or anything. You see what Matt put?
Yeah.
He said, imagine Zoom on a 9600 baud modem.
Yeah, well, Recovery Drone, right? I did have a 2400 baud. A friend of mine, okay, had gotten a 9600 baud modem. I don't know how he got it, okay? And then said, "Would you like one?" And I was like, "Yeah, I definitely want one." And boy, oh boy, like I said, I thought I was living high on life. You know, more than tripled my speed with that 9600 baud modem.
Yes.
But that thing would, in the beginning, it wouldn't connect because the back end services.
The first attempt was always a fail.
I would say for a good 6 to 8 months, I thought I got screwed on this thing because the services weren't allowing a 9600 baud modem to attach because it was putting too much of a strain on their services.
Did you see what Matt put? I downloaded a 1 meg. We're talking 1 megabyte. 1 meg on a 9600 baud modem. It took 4 days.
I know.
And today, Matt, when you say that, I worked for the Board of Ed and we thought we were badass. We got the 16 megabyte Tandon computers. That's the size of this case right here.
Yeah.
Okay, back then.
Yeah.
The Tandon computer was the size of that case there. And to show you how slow it was, but we thought it was fast, I had it timed down so that when I hit the power button, I could go take my sandwich, go up front, make a sandwich, put mustard on, put mustard, take the lunch meat out. And by the time I went in the back, it was time to take out that disc and put in the boot up disc. It put up the boot up disc for whatever program, because you needed a boot up disc to start the computer. Then you needed a boot up a DOS disk to switch over to run whatever program you wanted.
To run the operating system,
Yes.
then an application disk, then a
Yep,
data
yep,
disk.
yep.
Okay. And again, if you ever got them out of sequence, it was like the world came to an end. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now I got gig service at home. And you know, you're talking about 4K 60-minute videos. You blink and they're downloaded.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I could imagine. Well, the gig service. Well, they had to introduce gig service to people due to the fact that colleges were the only ones at one time that had gig service because of the size of the buildings, et cetera. You know, each building had its own server, and then that server was hooked up to a main server in another building. And for all this information to go back and forth, colleges started the downhill roll of that snowball as far as gig service and a terabyte speed and things like that, you know. And now you can have that in your own home, and it's incredible. And then I look at Roger, Canadian Drone Hub, and I'm like, dude, a 90-year-old man could run up the road and hand you your mail faster than your internet is moving. I just don't get it. I really don't. And didn't Paul, I know you're eating dinner there, I won't interrupt you, but
I'm good.
didn't Roger say that they're supposed to be running lines through there?
They came out and
What's the
measured it
progress
all
with
up,
that?
checked all the everything, and
They surveyed.
surveyed, getting
So
ready.
so if they're surveying, they're still a few years away from doing it.
Yeah, I would say.
Well, that's where, right, Paul.
We're talking
that's where,
Canada, though.
And Roger, yeah, but that's where this, what is it, the Skynet service? That's where it's going to make a big difference.
I know
right?
Roger signed up for that already.
Yeah, I did too on the beta. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I signed up on the beta, which
Well,
was supposed to be
Roger
released
could
in
be-
July.
Roger out in the middle of nowhere with very limited
Options.
speed.
No, his options are literally, what is his speed? I think it's 3 to 5.
No, his
download.
upload he checked today was 2.1. His download was 0.001.
Ooh. And he's probably got a latency that you could measure in whole seconds, right?
Yep.
Yeah, probably, yeah. And how would I say 4 or 5 seconds?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
What was his download, you said?
His download speed was 0.001.
that's like that's like megabits at every 10 seconds, maybe 2 or 3 megabits get through. It's sad to say, with all this tech and everything, dial-up was faster than that. You're right,
Yeah.
everyone. You're right.
Yeah.
Dial-up is faster than that. And I don't understand that because he has phone lines in the house.
Yep. And he
But there
also
are no more dial-up services.
Yep.
Well, the
and-
problem is with DSL, he's too far from the communication office. Okay, the CO.
Right, because they need
to
relay
get-
stations. They need relay.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
problem. That's
well,
the problem.
except he can see it. He has DSL fiber optics going down the next road.
Yeah, but it hasn't crossed the street yet. That's his
Forget about
problem.
the fiber
He doesn't
optic.
have a street.
I'm just wondering why he's having the issues that he's having. The only thing that I could think of is like what Tom was saying, because the DSL shouldn't be that bad.
Yeah, it is if there's not a see. The problem with DSL is the signal strength is only strong.
Yeah.
If you have point A,
I understand how it works.
Yeah.
I'm just saying is that the only thing that it can be is what Tom is saying, because other than that, if he's got signal in his house, it shouldn't be that bad.
Well,
analog. Yeah, but see, that's the problem. The analog is easier to transport than the digital signal. And that's where the problem, like, you can't be more than several thousand feet, basically.
A 50-foot Ethernet cord will weaken your DSL signal, and the DSL
Absolutely.
Verizon DSL told me that when we had it coming into the house,
Yeah.
because I said,
Yeah.
they said, where do you want the modem to be? Because with DSL, the longer the wire, the slower your signal gets. And I said, well,
Yeah.
I need a 50-foot cable to run from one point of the house to another. And they said, well, that will be your slowest line. All of the other lines closer to the DSL box will be fast.
Rogers had multiple service guys come out, and they end up walking away, shaking their head, talking to themselves. They don't know how he's doing anything.
Right.
Yeah, the fact that he's live streaming is like, the lines are from the 70s exactly, and Corey Mano lives up there with him, so he knows that Corey Mano, those lines need to come down. Fly an FPV drone around it. You didn't hear that from me.
Yeah, but where
Something's
Roger
gotta
is,
be
they're
done.
not burying fiber there. They're gonna pole run everything
Mhm.
in those areas. There's no other way to do it.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense to dig up the ground from Roger's house. In fact, where he is in Canada, his house, the example would be, what would you say is a good distance, Herman? From I'm trying to find a good distance along the East River. From maybe Rainy
when you're
Park
talking about
to
digging up
Ward's Island.
to put in lines, they're not going to do that in that case. They're not going to do that anywhere. It's not cost effective. Nobody's going to foot the bill for that. And to talk about just to get into his house, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, see, Corey Mano says, check this out. He says, same, his lines are from the 70s, but he's closer to the node. So he gets 75 Mbps.
Right. Yeah.
And
75
right,
megs.
Further away from
megabits.
But I'm saying, because it should not be that bad.
I agree with you. Now, unless the lines are chopped up and they're not, it's not a complete contact, I could see that
They
happening.
need to get snap, crackle, and pop on everything.
Yeah, that's true. He would get a lot of, well, you're an electrician, you would know that. He would get interference if there were issues with the line. Hey, Canadian Drone, Roger says, Herman, all the wires are underground since 1989 and they are rotting away.
Yeah, that's the
I
problem.
understand that.
Yeah.
Well,
Our lines are underground too.
And the service guys came out. You know how they have the boxes where they have the terminals and everything,
Mhm.
They take some 15 or 20 minutes to dig all the rats and rats nests, everything out of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Big Matt says he probably has a dirty line. I wouldn't be too surprised with that.
Mm-hmm.
But realize the current protocol for internet service, 801.11ax,
Yeah.
you can get speeds up to 9.6 gigabits per second. Okay. So what's out there now as far as protocol can handle much, much higher speeds. But if you can't get the service, it doesn't mean anything to you.
Exactly.
Hey, Roger, if you can jump on here, you can show them a speed test.
That would not
Yeah.
that would not be fun because
Yeah, I don't want to gloat with my speed test.
What happened? Yeah,
I said I don't want to gloat with my speed test. It's gonna, it's not the right thing to do there with Roger.
Yeah,
It's what we're getting here. Look, I'm jonesing for higher speeds when I'm out in the Vegas area because we still got a smattering of companies that are basically choking the environment out there.
Right.
Not offering very high speeds. Here I'm getting gig service. I'm getting probably anywhere from 870 to 900 megabits per second down.
Okay.
And I'm getting 1400 up.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Okay. Because you'll always get faster speed up a lot of times because, but the problem is, you got to go for fiber service. See, the problem with like what we have here in New York, we have like Spectrum, which used to be Time Warner. Okay. And that's a shared community service. So it used to be when the kids got home from school, you had 100 megabit service. It dropped down to like 10. And I know that still sounds a lot when we're talking about Roger's situation. But when you go to fiber and you go last mile run, you're not sharing that speed with anybody else. And that was the big difference in switching services over.
Right.
When you got everybody hanging off the same line, you got problems.
That's what Recovery One Drone, just type as you were saying it. Everybody's on the same line.
Yeah.
And with DSL, if you remember with Verizon, with DSL, they gave you little boosters that you plugged into the phone and to help boost or speed up the signal. Yeah, so every device that you had on the internet, you needed one for the computer, you needed one for each phone in the house.
But look at the situation we have now. You got to work from home. You have distance learning now. Okay.
Yeah,
I really think Skylink is the only way. Skynet's the only way to go. Okay, to get the service out there.
I agree.
Otherwise you got to use tethered balloons. Google tried that years ago.
And it's funny you say that because Skylink is the way to go, but there was some catastrophe that happened in a third world country, and Elon Musk said, if you let me put a satellite over this country, I can supply internet for the people who live there, which would provide cell phone service and internet for everyone below the satellite. And he was denied it. He was not denied it by the United States because they were like, sure, this is a good thing. We could get help in, we get our people in where there's no communication, blah, 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 or going with our own communication system. But the actual country itself said no. So you know what he said? Okay, never mind.
Wouldn't that though get back into who owns the space?
Well, the bigger problem is who's managing all the junk up there.
Yeah,
you got to realize these things are traveling I'm not bullshitting. You can look it up, guys. You can call me on it. They travel at 17,000 miles an hour. We're not talking about a little fender bender, okay, when those things come together. We're talking about space junk. And you better hope it comes together at high velocity and there's nothing left to fall to the earth.
For debris to fall.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, Matt, that's exactly what they were, filters.
Yeah, the DSL filters, right. To clean up the noisy phone lines. Yeah. Hey, listen, I still remember my old phone number, Ravenswood 72237. Okay.
See, now I'm not back that far, but I still remember.
And we were all in New York. We were all 212.
Yes, that's true. My mother.
That was a long time ago.
My mother I'm 56 years old. I'll be 57 in December. My mother still has the same phone number from when she moved into the project where she is still till this day back in 66. She still has the same phone number. And I'm like,
you remember it?
Yeah.
I remember I was as a 16-year-old, I was a messenger for Airport Messenger Company on 42nd Street. And I remember going to the AT&T building to deliver something, and they had a showroom, a demonstration room there. And I remember they had this exhibit where you could see how quickly you could dial a number on a push button phone versus your rotary phone.
That was high tech back then. Yeah.
That was high tech. I don't think, people were standing there. I remember as a kid, I was thinking, this is amazing. And people were actually standing there going, this isn't going to catch on. Okay.
That's funny.
The old rotary phone and the phone in the kitchen with the 25-foot cord attached to it.
Yeah.
Tom.
Okay.
Tom.
You ever see when they give one of these rotary phones to a kid today?
Yeah, they don't know what to do with it.
Hey, Tom, you're talking about the 25-foot cord?
Yeah.
My wife experienced this. I grew up in a project. She grew up in a private house. And one day we were going to visit my mother, and you hear, now the buildings are 6 stories tall, and
Yeah.
you hear from the 5th or 6th story, Shaquana, Shaniqua, whatever the hell the girl's name was, the phone. Now she's yelling. She's yelling, the phone. So you hear the kid come, or whoever it is, a teenager come running up the block, and she goes, okay. And from the 5th or 6th floor, they lowered down the phone. They lowered, dude. I never saw anything like this before in my life. And my wife was like, we're watching it. We're watching it. And we're watching it drop. And she's like, oh, girl, she thinks she's doing big things. I don't know where
Yeah.
the hell they got this cord from. Their relative
Right, right, right,
worked
right.
with a cable company or something, but they lowered it from the 5th or 6th floor down to ground level. And the girl got to talk. And as we were pulling away, because I was just in awe, then she pulled the phone back up. Now, how
See,
much of that cord did you have to have in your house?
we're dating ourselves because it was Bell, okay, then Bell Atlantic because they had to break up Bell, okay, Bell Telephone, uh, and then they had to break it up. Then our area over here was Bell Atlantic, and and Paul was probably Bell Midwest, or and
Bell,
and
Michigan
then
Bell.
Michigan Bell,
Michigan.
and then it became 9X here,
Yeah.
okay, and then it got broken down into Verizon. Then Verizon's grew again, and it's just going to keep turning and turning. It's like,
Same company.
yeah, same company, just a different name.
It's the
Well,
same
that's
thing.
why I
The
told
airports do the same thing. If the
But
airport has 5 crashes a year, the following year they change their name to something else.
that's what I was telling Lawrence. The way Verizon became such a major player in the cell phone business was because all they did was offer everybody that had a home phone a free cell phone.
Yeah. Yeah. He was just talking about that yesterday or the day before. He was just mentioning
That's
it.
the only way they became a major player in it. Sprint became a major player because they were long distance service.
Yeah,
Wow.
big time. Yeah, yeah,
I'm
definitely.
saying
Definitely.
wow because I get these crazy alerts because I'm like subscribed to stuff like info and tech and stuff like that. And I just got a post showing a 900-pound power loader that's operated by man. And this is it right here. I was trying to click on the picture to get it to blow up any bigger, but it's a 900-pound power loader. So much for
Okay.
Ripley and you remember Alien and all of that. Well, this is
Yeah.
their version
How
of
much? How much can it lift?
giant mech suits. And normally sometimes, let's see, the company is Furion Exobionics, and the name is Prothesis. Is a 9,000-pound quadrupled or 4-legged machine that can lift a car, climb over boulders, and run in the snow. But the
Wow.
ultimate goal of the is to pioneer an entirely new sport of mechanic racing.
Okay.
Okay, there.
What a waste of tech. Wait till the military gets their hands on that.
But
Yeah, they already got stuff.
the whole
Oh,
idea of
trust
the
me, that's a
25
lot
foot,
lighter than that.
the
Yeah.
whole idea of that 25-foot phone call, Lawrence, cord was so is that your mother could actually reach everywhere in the apartment,
In the apartment,
kitchen.
yep.
Yep.
Yeah, but dude, this
Yeah.
cord that they lowered out the living room window had to be like this, like a boat rope.
Like 2 of them and a coupler.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Look,
saying.
we used to drive up to. We had relatives up in Middletown, New York, and you talk about my father pinching
Here's the
Lincoln's head
link,
is
guys.
pinching Lincoln's head as tight as he could with a penny, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we would drive home from upstate,
Right.
what they used to do to let the relatives know we got home safely, okay, was to call back up to Middletown, collect, and ask for Harry. And then they would say, "There's no Harry here. I'm not accepting that
You
call."
know,
Okay?
you know.
Everybody did
and
that.
that's right. That's
Yes.
that's
yes,
how we
yes,
got
Every-
around long. That's how we got around long distance charges.
Tom.
You
Okay.
remember the commercial where they did that
You had a code. Yep.
for the with the baby in the hospital? They
Yes,
had the code
that's
over
the
the
same
phone.
thing, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
The fam-
yeah, when the baby was born.
the family
Yeah.
was at home waiting, and they did,
Yeah,
yeah, to know.
yeah,
So
Flip
they
code.
used
yeah.
I had
code
a
to tell
baby.
whether
It's a boy.
it was a boy or
Long,
girl.
long distance services, So I'll tell you a quick story. So, so one of the things I
Oh
did
man,
early on in my career was we provided support for at disaster situations, at large scale incidents.
right,
So I went to Con Ed and said, hey, train us how to bug in to the light poles to get power and not to go through the ballast on the light, but
right.
to draw 50 amps out. And then my uncle was a lineman for 9X.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, hey, I want to learn how to bug into the pay phones. So he gave me a Babinski, which is the telephone handset the lineman used to use, and taught me how to set things up. And we used to have a standalone phone with a push button on the side of it. And we used to bug into the bottom of the pay phones and set this up. So instead of dropping the coins, you used to hit the button, which was hitting the ground plane of the coins dropping so that you could make calls. Well, we set up at this parade one day on one of the vehicles, the mobile emergency room vehicle, and there was a lieutenant in charge of the vehicle. And I said, hey, Lou, if you need to make calls out on this, what you do is when you pick up the phone, dial the number, and then you'll have to hit the button on the side for the call to go through. So then I walk back up on the vehicle about an hour later, and he's got the phone to his ear, and he keeps hitting the button, hitting the button, hitting the button, hitting the button. And I go, hey, Lou, you really only have to hit it once for a local call. He says, what local call? I'm calling my relatives in Naples, Italy. Okay. So, and so that's how the technology was so advanced. It was nothing more than a simple ground plane in the phone that registered the coin drop. Okay. But that was modern technology back then. And look at where we are today. We're flying cameras now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you know what's funny about that? Time I was in school, I learned how to go into the
Recovery
telephone
drone.
room and
Yes,
hook
10
up
cents out of 2 pennies.
hook
I
up a
agree.
telephone and just make a call on whatever line I can get on the board. So I remember I was I was working in the World Trade Center. I was an apprentice at the time, and I opened up the closet to go in the closet to do it. I'm like, holy shit! Look at all these different lines in here. Where do I connect to? But I used to do that in the closet all the time and make calls.
Well, for the Statue of Liberty Centennial, we actually had to get some phone lines for the operation in downtown Brooklyn by the Brooklyn Bridge.
Mhm.
And so the Red Cross had its headquarters right there at Cadman Plaza.
Okay.
And then down in the basement was the Major D mark for 9X. So I remember me and my buddy open up this board, like you say, Herman, and thousands of phone lines collapsed there. And I remember with the Babinski plugging in and trying to get a dial tone. And so I'm calling back to get the number off the line. Okay. And this lady comes on and, hello, who's there? And I said, lady, hang up the phone. Okay. This is the government. We need to use this line. Oh, okay. No problem. Okay. I mean, the amount of chaos you could have caused just in that one little space.
And I
You
was
could have
doing it in the
disconnected
trade
half
center.
of Brooklyn. Oh yeah, that would have been chaos. Yeah. Modern technology.
Yeah, that
It
was
wasn't
fun
that
times.
modern. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
taking somebody's phone line in the World Trade Center.
Yeah. Conscripting. You gave it back at the end.
Yeah. Borrowing.
Borrowing. Yeah. I'll gladly pay you Wednesday for a burger on Tuesday. Yes. Borrowing. But yeah, I mean, look at what we're doing now, right? We're flying robots with cameras and telemetry, connecting to 20 some odd satellites. The only thing, and when it comes to the Jetsons, and the robot maid, okay,
Rosie.
Now we got robot Rosie the robot. That's right.
You know, a lot
Now
of
we
people.
Hey,
A lot of
Rosie
now we
was,
got a
always-
Roomba. Now we got a
Yeah.
Roomba instead of Rosie.
You know, and you mentioned it earlier, talking about the automobile industry. If they were as fast as the IT industry, you know, the automobile industry where it's gone today since I've been alive. The people who are around me today, who have been around me in this world since I've been alive, they can't handle where the automobile industry has gone so far. Could you imagine if they had the rush since the time of, like, let's say, the last 50 years to
Oh,
put things into the air to fly? These guys
Yeah.
can't even navigate through a 2-lane street and on
True.
the roads. You want to
Well-
put them in the air where those
Well,
cars
see,
will
here's-
fall to the ground?
look, here's the problem with autonomous vehicles. I'll tell you right away, it's a simple problem. Non-autonomous vehicles. That's the problem.
yeah,
Okay?
exactly.
You could roll out autonomous vehicles if you had complete saturation. You could do it tomorrow.
Hey, Joe
But
Mac.
because people are still driving, you can't go with autonomous vehicles. Not
You
as
know what?
quickly
I
as we
agree
need
with
to.
you, Tom. If
Yeah,
you built a
although-
highway for autonomous vehicles, I could see that. But the fact that these guys, you see these videos of these guys sleeping while the car is doing
The Tesla.
50 miles an hour. I mean,
Yeah.
But
If
those
you-
autonomous vehicles have failed.
true.
Well, yeah, I mean, they can fail. It's pretty funny. In the RV industry several years back, they had to actually put placards on vehicles that said cruise control is not autopilot. Okay. Because somebody was driving, and in some states, like you get to some states that are very, very dry, they don't have to crown the road like they do
Right.
in the northern states,
Mhm.
okay, or in the states that get a lot of moisture, okay,
Right.
from runoff. So you could turn around, okay. I drove through some southwestern states that if you have a good alignment on your car, you could be hands off for miles, okay.
Yeah.
But there was this couple that was driving an RV and they set the cruise control and then they went in the back to make sandwiches and both
Oh
sat
my
down
goodness.
So,
to eat.
Are
Okay.
you serious?
it
I'm
went right
serious,
off the road.
Eventually, yes.
Well,
Could you
Eventually.
imagine trying to get back to the steering wheel?
Yeah, there's no
After
getting
going
back
over-
at that point.
going down
No,
in
no.
a ravine.
By the time you realize that you are a projectile inside, okay?
Exactly.
Yeah, the only way you're getting back is if it flings you back. Okay.
Well, you see,
Exactly.
you know what, though? What I'd like to know with the autonomous vehicle thing, though, Tom? What's up, Ray?
What's up,
Now,
Ray?
when you have
Hey,
an
Ray.
accident, right? The vehicle is in your hands. You're a licensed driver. You've passed all your requirements. You have all your, and you're entrusted by your state as you're responsible to operate that vehicle. So if something happens, barring a failure of the vehicle, you're responsible for that.
Right.
Now, on an autonomous vehicle, we have now the manufacturer and we have a vehicle that's insured by an insurance company.
Mm-hmm.
When it goes wrong, who's the issue between the insurance company and your manufacturer? Are they
Only
gonna
if
argue
they
that out?
take the controls away from you.
So I don't
okay.
even have to go to court for that one.
Yeah. But look,
Or am I a
that will
witness?
happen if they take the controls away from you. If they
Mhm.
don't give you a way to interact with the vehicle other than to say, hey, Siri, take me here or take me there, you'll still have a level of responsibility.
And you know what? It's kind of funny because
Oh, I'm sorry. I said Siri. I got to shut off my
I heard
iPad.
I
She's
heard
ready
I
to-
heard the phone. See, I heard the phone. As soon as you say key words,
What she
I
said,
don't
you
even-
crash it?
I
you
don't
buy
even
it?
say certain things like Alexa, and the damn thing wakes up.
Well, I don't have an Alexa, but it doesn't matter. I have Apple listening to my
The
conversations.
same.
It doesn't
yeah,
matter,
of
right?
course. You have Apple.
If it's not
or
Google, it's Apple.
It's-
Yeah, I know.
It's one of the two.
That's
It's
Vicky,
one
go
of
ahead.
the two listening.
All right.
Because
Tell myself
either
it's
what
okay.
either one all if one or all of your devices are running on one of those two, and if it has a microphone, your house is
Yep.
wired, whether you have Alexa in your house or
It
Google
doesn't
Home
matter.
in your house or
A
not.
Ring device, okay?
Uh-huh.
Ring cameras around your house.
Your
Yep.
cell phone in your pocket.
Yes.
So they make a Raspberry Pi device that you can buy up on Amazon that you can get close to the house, okay, and send a Wi-Fi interruption signal. Now,
Get out.
most of the security cameras, you can turn around. If you lose your signal, your connection, your phone line connection, it sends you an alert, right?
Right.
But
right.
with this, it puts up a block in your Wi-Fi. So there's no real loss of connection. It just thinks it's connected, but it's not communicating.
Right.
Now, think about this. Not only can you put that blocker in place, you can also have another device. It's like a Kamaguchi, I think, where you can put these devices together and they listen to people connecting and they decipher, okay, and hash the passwords for that connection,
Yeah.
and then they take it over. It basically is a little Pi device with an OLED screen on it that consumes Wi-Fi connections
Mhm.
within a few hundred feet. So
That-
Yeah.
imagine
That must be a
in
big,
Starbucks.
that must be a big seller among the criminals, huh?
Well, Paul, you can buy the damn things
Paul,
on
you can
Amazon,
get it on
$60,
Amazon.
$70.
You can
Yeah.
get it on Amazon.
Okay.
Paul, right now, Paul, I can pull up. Dude, you have cameras. You have all kinds of stuff around your house. Right now, I could pull up within 75 to 100 feet of your house. At your neighbor's house, I could pull up and get into your Wi-Fi and find your password and look at your Ring, look through your Ring phone. I can do all of that stuff. They even have a device now for thieves. There's a device out there for thieves. If you want a Mercedes or a certain type of car, this
Yeah, the
scans
key
all of
fob.
the frequencies. Yep,
Well,
it
you know
scans
what's
all the
really
frequencies.
You know what's really scary? The porch pirates that keep on stealing your Amazon packages. You better hope one of them doesn't steal one of these, okay? Because
The
think
glitter
about
bomb, the glitter bomb.
well, yeah, well, but here's the problem. That's when you get them, okay? That's when you get the thieves. But I'm talking about, imagine if you want to go around and steal people's packages, and the first thing you do is before you're in eye shot of that camera, you hit this device, and the camera goes offline.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You lose the connection for whatever time
But think
it takes to
about
reset.
the burglar. He's going to shut off your security system at home.
Yep.
Then he's going to get in.
Yep.
And if you have one of those electronic deadbolts, then he doesn't even have to do any damage to get in.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's really what's happening. So when we talk about end-to-end endpoint security, it has to get down to these local level devices as well.
It does because my boss has a cleaning company, and we have one client that before we go in her house. Now she has cameras looking at the sidewalk, cameras all around the house. She has a semi-smart home.
Yeah.
She's semi-smart because she lives there. But getting back to the point I'm trying to make is we get in front of her house and he texts her, "We're here." And she sits there
And
on
then
her phone. And
Yep.
as we're walking to the door, you hear the door go and the lock opens up. Just like simple.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
when we're leaving, she sees us slam the door and you hear the lock go back to lock position.
Yeah,
Just like that.
my aunt, my wife's aunt,
And she's at work.
my wife's aunt picks up mail from the house out in Vegas, and then I set the system again.
Oh, get
Okay,
out of
I
here.
re-enable the system again
From where
on my
you
phone.
are. From where
Yeah.
you are, yeah.
Yeah. My wife will say to me, Auntie Ellen just left the house. Can you set the alarm? Yeah, okay. Boom, boom, boom. That's it.
And just as and like Tom said, you can get this stuff on Amazon, and the problem with that is the United States is allowing this stuff to come into the country as well as be sold here because it's all about the almighty dollar.
Oh,
And
yeah.
therein lies
Yeah.
the problem because it takes money to make money. You've
Well,
seen Ocean's 11. You've seen
gotta
Ocean's
tell you.
11. How much money
Yeah.
did they steal in Ocean's 11?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but how
and
much
that-
money did they invest to do that job? So it takes money
but
to make
today,
money.
but not today though. because today it's getting cheaper and cheaper.
Today, all it takes is Amazon, right?
Well, yeah, and you get it next day.
That's
You know,
true. That's true.
see, but the problem, it's not a problem. It's just the technology. You think about the Raspberry Pi device. It's a
Mhm.
computer. And
Yes,
now
it
you have
is.
these little OLED screens, these little 2-inch OLED screens.
Add to
You
cart.
basically have a system you built. It takes no time to do it. And imagine you guys are playing around with FPVs and soldering boards, and there's a look. Tomorrow you
fly
could
one of
be,
those, right? You fly one of those into an area at 90
yeah,
miles an hour and fly out,
exactly,
and their whole system
yeah,
is disrupted.
yeah,
Now, while it's resetting, because what happens with these camera systems is you can disable a connection between the internet and
yeah,
the camera because they're IP cameras. But what
right.
happens is because of the pause, the reset, or the startup system, it's going to try and reset. So you're only
Yeah, but
limited.
no.
No?
Here's what's actually happening. No. So what this device does is it gets between you and your hotspot. It
Okay.
figures out how you're communicating to your hotspot and then sets itself up as your hotspot. It
Oh,
it
okay. I was
cloaks it
misunderstanding.
spoofs itself. It spoofs your system. And now that's why the cameras don't lose connection. They just don't have connection back to the
To you.
mothership.
They don't have connection to
Right.
you anymore.
No. So it's not going offline at any point. Okay. This is coming up in between as a proxy and going, I got it.
So that
Eh,
what you're saying, that's the same thing as like the issue they had with the Ring doorbell and Ring security system.
Yep.
They have the Ring cameras, and they showed this guy on the news. This was on the news here, and they showed from somewhere, but I saw it here in New York, where the little girl was in her room playing. The parents used the camera, the Ring
Yep.
camera, to monitor
Baby
their
monitor.
daughter,
Yeah.
and he was saying stuff to the daughter like, "Yeah, you could
Mhm.
mess up your room, you could wreck your room, mommy won't care," stuff like that. Fortunately, she was smart enough to get scared and call
Yeah.
her parents.
Yeah.
But for the
Well, didn't
kid
they
that
just release a movie about, be careful? I remember seeing some kind of trailer where
they're
they were
getting
saying
ready to release, they're
they
getting
have
ready
all
to
your
release one.
data, and she's laying in bed, and all of a sudden her Alexa glows on her nightstand.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
You know, look, we're beyond that at this point. We're past that now.
And you know what? We thought we were doing something back in the day when we would pull up on a block with a laptop and just use someone's internet to play video games.
Yeah. Well, now you use somebody's internet, you're getting yourself hacked.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, you could get
Yeah.
hacked back and or viruses.
Well, the guys that sit at Starbucks or Mickey D's and they set up the Mickey D or the Starbucks
It's the same thing
Wi-Fi
with the public.
hotspot
It's the same thing with public
with the
libraries.
library.
If you
Yep.
go into the public library and you log into their system, they warn you, do not make any online purchases with
Right.
your debit cards, bank cards, credit cards, anything you have, because this is an unsecured area.
So check down in the links here. We have we're promoting NordVPN. We get $2 back on every subscription to NordVPN. No, but that's what's happening now.
Yeah.
You basically, I
Yeah.
mean, you have to have a VPN. I'm running a VPN on my phone. I'm running a VPN on my home systems. Okay.
That's what I was about to say. When y'all talking about us, so you better run a VPN and back that up with a firewall as well.
Yeah, and we're talking about
Telling
both
you.
a software and a hardware firewall. Okay, and
Exactly.
you
Yep.
better keep
Or with all your cameras, that's why I hardwired my cameras. I don't use no Wi-Fi with my cameras. Everything is
Yeah.
hardwired.
It's the best approach if you can do it.
address. I don't let them pick my. And the worst thing you could do is let them assign IP address for you. That's why I always do static.
Because
I
it's
choose my
easy
own
for,
IP address.
I agree with you,
Yeah.
Ray, because it's easy for me to get the exact model of your camera, Paul. And once I
Yeah.
have the model, I know what frequency it operates
Wait
on.
a second. You buy a router at Micro Center or on Amazon, and how many people actually change the admin username
Yep.
and the admin
Yep.
password?
Yep.
Okay,
Never.
it's not done.
Yep.
And then people
I do.
go,
I
well,
do.
I have Norton or I have McAfee. Well, guess what? That's great.
Yeah.
But if you don't also have Malwarebytes Pro,
Right.
you only have half the battle done,
Malware,
okay?
Right.
spyware,
And
all aware.
it's true because
Malware,
it's usually
spyware, all.
admin. That username is admin and the password is password.
Yeah, and then you have to
On
set,
9
like
out of 10 routers you buy from
Or
the store.
Ray said, then you got to set that up as a hardware firewall. Then in your Windows OS
Exactly.
or Mac, you got to set up a software firewall to
Mac.
talk to it. And
Yep.
all this stuff gets
Exactly.
pretty unwieldy for the common citizen to do. So guess what? They don't do it.
Yeah.
They don't do it. Okay.
Yeah, that is
My
true.
my
But
my
they get
late
hacked.
mother-in-law
They get
called us
Yep.
one day and said, "Hey, there was a nice guy who helped me with my computer. There was a problem." And I said, "Oh, what, Best Buy, Geek Squad?" She says, "No, something popped up on my screen and I had to call this number. And they took
Oh,
my
God.
credit card and he was
Mhm.
able to get it off the screen." Well, we immediately had to call the bank
Yep.
and cancel that
Stop
credit
the call.
card number, right? I
Mhm.
mean, they prey on people. I mean, I just got a little while before this, we jumped on. I got one of those. I just qualified for 0% on a MasterCard, on my
Yeah.
MasterCards.
Hey,
So I love talking to them. I'll press one. Yeah, I'll talk to you.
Okay.
Tom,
And how do I get that? What
Tom,
number do I have to give you? Then I give
that-
them a 6 series number, which is a Discover number.
yeah,
And the guy goes, no, that's not the right number. Okay.
yeah,
It's got to
Play with
start with this. And
Yeah.
and you futz with them for about 10 minutes until they curse you out.
I get, you know
Then
what I
I
get,
feel
Tom?
then I feel like I stopped them
Yeah.
from screwing somebody.
I don't
Okay.
even own a car, and I get invitations to renew my car insurance at least twice a week.
Oh, we get the maintenance. Yeah, we get the maintenance all the time. Our cars came with complimentary maintenance.
Extended.
Okay.
Well, I
Yeah.
called. I
Yeah.
actually
Extended
called.
warranty,
I
right?
actually called one back, and they were like, "Oh, hi, Mr. Clark. How are you? Your insurance on your car is about to expire." I said, "Well, okay. How much is it?" She goes, "Well, it's only 300 or something dollars." I said, "Well, you do have my card information on file, right?" And she goes, let me check. And I hold on for a while. So I'm like, I got her now. She goes, "For some reason, my system seems to be down. Can you give me a card number?" I said, "Sure, use yours." And I hung up on her.
Well, I watch a series of YouTube. I subscribe to a series of YouTube people that they reverse hack these companies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they're basically, they've set up a VDI, they set up a virtual session, an instance. And what the guy is getting into is this virtualized computer while he is reversing
He's
his connections,
he's
and
tracing the connections back.
he's deleting their files, but he's looking shit up. He knows now the guy's name is not Sam.
Yeah.
And then halfway through, he starts talking to the guy, referencing his name, and the guy had his kids' pictures on the computer he was
Oh,
using.
get out of here.
Okay, so he started asking how the kids were doing in school, and he was screwing them over. And what he does a lot of times is he gets the actual address, which is a call center above some business in India. It's a little mom and pop business on the ground floor.
And some kid is probably
But
doing
it's got
this.
700 phone lines going into the second floor, hanging
Wow.
off the pole.
Wow.
Okay. And he turns it over to the various law enforcement agencies. But I get such a kick out of those when they do those. Those are fun. To me, that's entertainment right there.
I love the computer calls, no matter what they called for. I have the opposite brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
I like,
is,
if I have a few minutes, I like to engage them
it is.
because I
It's
think
amusing.
it keeps a few minutes from them, okay, stopping them calling somebody else.
Okay, Paul, thanks. You know what? I
Awesome.
before I didn't call them, but now I get a kick out of calling them back because
Yeah.
they either know my first name or last name, and
Right.
they don't have my email, and a lot of them ask for your license number because
Yeah.
there's a search engine out there. A lot of people don't notice. If you take someone's New York State ID or their license number, driver's license number. This will tell you what neighborhood they live in and the income of the neighborhood. There's an app that actually does this.
And by the way, while you're at it, go get a DNA test too. Like they don't have enough information on it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fingerprint test. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but I'm
be
gonna
right.
start messing with them too, Tom. Right? Because the car insurance ones, I'm like, well, what car is this under? And they're like,
Yeah.
well, sir, you don't know what car you have insured? I'm like, well, you're calling me. So I have 5 cars, and I need to know which one you're talking about.
Well, the credit cards that I have, I also have virtual numbers for. Okay. So that when I shop online, I'm actually using a virtual number
Right.
for that card.
Not one that's assigned
Not
to your card.
not the
Yes.
one actually assigned to the physical card. And if you're not already doing that, just get in touch with your credit card
I
company.
did that.
Get in touch with them.
No,
They will
Tom, I know
provide
what you're
that.
talking about because I did that with Bang You Good because I use
Yeah.
my debit card. I did
Right.
not want them to have my actual
No,
card
no,
number.
no.
So
I
they
don't do
give
it with
you-
DJI. I don't
Oh,
do it
get
with
out.
DJI.
I don't blame you.
I use a virtual number with DJI. Okay. You know, the Chinese government's
mine
already
goes-
getting my GPS data from my drones. They don't need my credit card number. So
JSK.
it's a scary world out there, folks.
It is, but as long as you do what you're supposed to and you're not greedy, you won't get got.
Yeah, well, that's what you hope. I mean, they're holding cities with ransomware. Look at what happened to Atlanta.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. They
Major
threaten to wipe.
corporations
They threaten
have
to wipe.
just
They in
Yeah.
Atlanta and a few other places. They threatened to
few other-
wipe out.
yeah.
They were holding the Board of Education hostage, and they
Right.
threatened to erase the entire database of everybody in public schools.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
I don't know if this is possible being a computer person, but I'm sure they could probably delete everyone in elementary school, everyone in high school. I do believe they're on
It
separate
depends.
databases.
You got to
It depends on the
realize
city.
that government is not. Well, come on. Like you have to realize this now. Government doesn't have its act together any more than John Q. Public.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
You hope it's getting better, but we now in the city of New York we have a group, an agency called Cyber Command. Okay, because they have to worry about all these. Just think about it in any big city, and even the smaller ones. You have multiple agencies that have your data.
Where you flying
by-
at, Ray? In his
By only
backyard.
protecting one, you don't protect everybody.
Oh, okay. I got you. I'm about to say, where the hell Ray at? Now I see it's his backyard. I saw the awning. The awning got to be the backyard.
Tom, I had a neighbor that tried that bullshit with the computer and messing around with companies on his computer. And the feds were up in here, like I think it was like for every one of him, it was like 40 guys. They stormed the whole building, dragged him, his parents, everybody out the
Sure.
house, the computer,
Sure.
everything, a lot of electronics, everything.
See, that's because, Herman, they're finally understanding how serious cybercrime is. But the big problem with cybercrime is state-sponsored cybercrime, meaning not states in New York or Michigan. No, I'm talking about Russia, China,
Yes.
Iran.
And that's big.
Okay. North Korea.
Demographic-
North Korea's big industry
Yeah.
is hacking.
Demographic hacking. It's called demographic hacking. You can
State-sponsored cybercrime.
and you can actually do demographic hacking locally too. I can go to any local post office and find out the mailing list of who's a Republican, independent, and or whatever party in my neighborhood or any place else in New York.
Any place else.
So you can target those particular areas with stuff.
Right.
No matter what it is. And you can get this information from the post office.
Actually, if you don't mind spending money on somebody else's credit card, you can buy these lists online, right? And that's what they do.
Yeah.
They steal credit card data to buy other data.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
it's getting those 6 degrees, that 7th degree of separation,
Mhm.
because it takes longer to get back.
Right.
Exactly.
For them to trace it back to you.
Yeah,
You're
Right.
right about that.
They don't use your card up already. They on to the next one. Yeah.
Steal
yeah,
somebody else's
it's gone before
information
you
to get
realize it,
information to
Ray.
steal.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
right.
Well, I'm going to
Yeah.
tell you, GoFundMe, you have to be careful with GoFundMe because
Yes.
I almost got caught with a scam. We had the drone pilot that got arrested that was trying to get to $12,000 for a lawyer. Well,
Uh-huh.
he's up to 21,000 plus.
Why? Why?
But hold on. While signing up and donating to that GoFundMe,
Uh-huh.
which wind up being the amount it was that I was charged for, 2 days later, an amount for larger than what I did came up for the GoFundMe,
Wow.
but it wasn't through his. And I immediately contacted the bank and said, this one I approve, but this one I don't know where it comes from.
Get over
And
here.
it was a website coming from GoFundMe.
Yeah.
So somehow
Yeah.
they must have intercepted, like we were talking about packages and
Sure.
encryption. Somehow GoFundMe has a back door somewhere that
You
people
use a virtual number.
Yep.
PayPal is a big one. A lot of people use PayPal
Yep.
because it's an intermediary. I'm not a big fan of PayPal. Just I think they're another one who owns too much info.
Hey, later,
on you.
Dragon Hank.
Okay, but everybody has your info now. I mean, who do you trust? I mean, like, look, we're looking to buy e-bikes.
Thanks, Paul.
I'm gonna buy e-bikes on American Express because I want double the warranty.
Right.
So you make those concessions, right? That's what it is. We're all about making concessions, what we share and what we don't. If we really want something, we wind up sharing information. Okay. And you know what? We're becoming a cashless society, right, Ray? I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
you
Whether
know,
we wanted it to
once we
happen
go
or not.
cashless or not, once we go cashless, there is no data protection becomes the ultimate requirement, and it becomes a personal responsibility.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets really scary because we can't get people to be personally responsible for even the
Big
simple
Matt says he
shit.
got an e-board.
Uh-oh.
Oh
What is
boy,
it? What is an e-board?
Uh-oh.
it's like you know,
scooter?
a skateboard, an electronic skateboard.
Oh hell! Are you
Uh-uh.
An
crazy,
electric
man?
skateboard.
No, Matt. No.
I told
Well,
Matt,
there was a guy.
too big
that-
and too old for that shit.
No, man.
well, yeah, right.
No.
Yeah, you got to put a whole set of body armor on me to get me on one of those one
Listen,
wheels.
listen.
This
I
stuff
saw
doesn't
what
heal the
I
same
saw
way
what
anymore.
happened to Jose. He
Man,
bought a scooter. 2 days later, a week later, whatever, he broke his collarbone and sold the
Yeah.
scooter immediately afterwards.
Yo, Ray.
I know.
Yo, Matt, you got to get one of those suits they use to train the guard dogs, man, to ride that. Because
Yeah, I know.
if you go down, man, you're not getting back up, bro.
And there's a lot of you to go down, Big man.
Man, I remember taking a spill on my bike as a kid, scraping up the whole left side of my face, and being right back out there later on that day to play. Today, you know, that's a hospitalization.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah,
health- the
remember, your
process
head is-
takes a lot longer.
It's 6 feet, something inches away from the ground, bro.
Well, look at who's talking, Herman there, you know, so, okay.
This happened at work. This is on Nadine.
Well,
This is
still,
not
man,
riding on no scooter.
remember, as a young man, you'd be back at work. Okay.
Matt says I'm a semi-professional, just taller.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
All right.
All you need is a pebble on the ground.
All right, man.
Matt, all it takes is something the thickness of this freaking toothpick to go under one of them silicone wheels between you and the concrete, and it's a
Yo.
wrap, dude.
Yo, he got-
Well, you know what?
pray-
He got like
If
4
you're a
inch wheels.
skateboarder,
He got
if
4
you're a
inch wheels on
skateboarder,
it.
I'll give it to Matt, man.
Yeah.
Okay. If he's a boarder to begin with,
I hit
God bless you,
28
bro.
miles per hour on St. Nicholas and 150.
Wow.
Now we're talking, Matt. I don't know what you weigh, but that's like a deer crossing the highway, and a car.
What are you saying?
Like-
Matt's got
Put a
antlers?
bear crossing the highway.
Dude, whatever you hit, you're gonna destroy. I don't mean to say
It's you that we're worried about.
Yeah.
Okay.
A
Yeah.
bear crossing the highway.
Yeah.
To hell with the
What
board.
bear?
The board's gonna survive. It's gonna go right under the vehicle you hit. and keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
They
Mm-mm.
got the
Well, that's it. What was it?
He says it got
Oh,
eight. Oh, he says it's got ATV wheels. He's got the off-road e-board.
Yeah.
He's got
yeah.
the off-road one.
Yeah.
Matt. I like you as a friend, man. Seriously, this midlife thing you're going through, get over it. Because get over it because that's definitely something midlife.
Well, come
Yeah.
on. Look at when these guys buy these supercars, they drive them out of the dealership and they wreck them within a block and a half, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Coming out
Okay.
the truck.
That
I've-
throttle gets
I've
that
seen
throttle
it
gets
happen
away
with a
from you.
Lamborghini. The guy
Oh,
pulled out of the
yeah.
parking lot, and in first gear, he just went, ooh, bang,
It
and
happens
was
with
over.
Porsche Carreras, man.
Yep.
It happens, any of those cars.
Yes.
That throttle. If you don't know how to manage and massage that throttle, okay,
Yeah.
that gas pedal,
Yeah,
that car
yeah.
is away from you in
And
a heartbeat.
most people, Tom, that buy those supercars have never driven a 7-gear car before.
No,
Also,
No.
you have to take that into account. You go
No.
to pop the clutch in the wrong gear and see if you don't wind up in the back seat.
And by the way,
Why not through the window?
A Lamborghini Gallardo is not comfortable to drive. I got to tell you that. I
I've
raced
never-
one.
I've
I
never
raced
been
one
in.
raced one in Vegas,
Mhm.
and there's nothing comfortable about it. Okay,
Like-
not my
Like sitting
cup of
on a
tea.
frame.
You're
Like
not
sitting
right,
supposed
guys.
to be comfortable. You're supposed to be alert in that car.
Yeah.
No, but it's a street legal car.
And I get it, but you're
Okay.
not supposed to be comfortable in that car. You're supposed to be alert.
Listen, guys,
Yeah.
we got to get out. We got to do this drop and get out of here. We appreciate you all for coming and hanging with us on Sunday nights with those guys. There wasn't a whole lot of drone news, but Big Matt, now that I know you have that e-board, I'm gonna be looking out for accidents with e-boards now. I pray nothing happens to you. I really do. But guys, we appreciate you coming through. We appreciate the love and support that we get every weekend. Don't forget to check out Paul Murray tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Phantom Flight 101 Wednesday nights at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tom, Ray, Paul, Herman, I appreciate you guys coming through. On Sunday nights with those guys is sponsored by
Those
guys. Good night, everyone. Have
Good
a
night,
great
everybody.
one. We are
So-
out.